In last week's video, we talked about the sword and the serpent, one small column in Liber 777. There are no attributions on the paths of column 9, but the text in there shows that there's two separate systems. On the one, there's the Sephiroth from 1 to 10, and then the 22 paths. 1 to 10 is the sword, 22 paths is the serpent. And we talked about Dion Fortune. She wrote the Mystical Kabbalah about all of this, and Aurum Solis, Dennington Phillips. They had an entire book titled The Sword and the Serpent. And it is actually a description of 777. But what did we leave out, Bart?
The Triplicities
Of?
the Tree of Life, of the Tarot.
The Book of Thoth?
Oh, yeah, yes. The three last pages of the Book of Thoth.
The three last pages of the Book of Thoth. Now, this is a bit complicated, this stuff, okay? We're not expecting you to get it. We have trouble getting it. We've had arguments about this one, about what it means and how it works and everything else. So this is not time to go into detail about those things, but we want to show you that there's an entire system of the sword and the serpent in Aleister Crowley's Book of Thoth, even though he doesn't even mention it. He really does your head in on these things. Now, when we've been doing our tarot readings, and if you see in other videos, we always talk about the three goes into one. Okay, the three cards, and then the fourth position comes from somewhere else. And Crowley does exactly the same thing with this system. It's not, it doesn't look like that, but that's what he's doing. And we're going to try and show you, hopefully, what's there. And then you can start trying to work it out yourself, what the hell it means, because we don't agree on this one. So there are 3 pages, and it starts on page 285 in the Book of Thoth. That's what it looks like, okay? And it's a weird one because the title says the Triple Trinity of the planets. The Triple Trinity, 3 times 3 is 9, okay? But actually, there's only 2 sections here. So what is the Triple Trinity? Actually, the Triple Trinity is the paths, the veils above the Tree of Life, the En, the Ein Sof, and the Ein Sof Or. Okay? So this is also interesting. So he says it's the Triple Trinity of the planets, but the only way to understand it is to see these paths on the Tree of Life, the actual Sephiroth. Then it starts to make sense. It doesn't make sense when you look at this diagram.
No, it doesn't. You
know, and this is the only place in the Book of Thoth where he actually talks about Neptune, Uranus, and there's not even Pluto. So I don't think Pluto was around at that point. So he's talking about Neptune, and he's talking about Uranus in the supernal triangle. Yes,
it was, but it was nothing but an icy rock. They were not even sure if they would call it a planet. It's still going on, this argument here. About
still going on, yes.
Yes, it is.
So he's so he included them in here. This is the only place where he actually does this. Is on this page 285. It's also 284, but that's another point about astrology. So he breaks down it's actually 2 sets of 3 here, okay, not 3, which is the clue that there's something else going on. And he breaks it up into three sets. One is the self or ego, which is Mercury, the property Mercury in alchemy, not the planet Mercury. Then he talks about the will of the self, which is sulfur. And then he talks about the relationship with the non-ego, and he uses a symbol of salt here. So this is an alchemical system that he's talking about. They also relate to the 3 gunas in fire, water, and air, basically. That's right, isn't it? Yes.
That's right. May I
And he does this as a kind of diagonal slice through the tree of life.
Except for the first one, eh?
Sorry?
The first one, the self-ego is the middle pillar, eh?
Well, no, if you go down to the second section, he actually does do the middle pillar, the pillar of mercy, and the pillar of severity. So the middle pillars are in the second part of the table. So the top part of the middle pillar is consciousness. Then he talks about the pillar of mercy as the mode of action on the non-ego. And then the pillar of severity is, he calls it the mode of self-expression. Now, we're not exactly sure what he means by this at the moment. And if we'd have to do an entire video or several arguing about what exactly he's talking about here. He's probably talking about the levels of Yekidah and Ruach and all these things as well, that is part of the Kabbalistic system of the spirit and the soul and these things too. But it's not clear. What's the other interesting thing about this set of this table?
I think, but this our opinion, the top one is about the relationship of the planets with the ego, with you.
Yes. Yeah.
How do the planets influence you?
This is this is another question, isn't it? You have to know astrology and all these sort of things. You say it's a triple trinity, and if there's only two sections there, where is the third one? And the third one is the one Sephirah he doesn't mention, which is number 10, Malkut. So it's there, but it doesn't exist in this thing. Okay? So it's an important point we're going to see in the other two tables. Malkut doesn't show up except at the end, and not as a trinity. Okay? So this is the 3 and the 1, which is how we read the tarot cards in groups of 3, with the fourth position being the meaning interpretation of those 3 cards. It's a complex picture, isn't it? We're just trying to give you an overview. And, and in the video, we'll have the diagrams that show these things. We're not going to sort of say, this is what it means, because it may mean that, and it might mean something else entirely.
You're missing the point completely with Crowley, eh?
It just shows you, there's a lot of challenges here, aren't there? Nothing is simple and straightforward. And this is the genius. He put all of this in here without ever mentioning that it is the sword and the serpent.
The Book of Thoth is actually the manual for the Thoth tarot, but it's like the Book of Thoth could also require a manual.
Yeah, well, we're trying to do it, aren't we, basically? Yeah, and it's also 777 as well, and all these other systems that go on with it. So this is a separate system he never discusses in the book. And he does in some ways. He talks about the N Sof and N Sof 4.
Did we already mention that all these pages also appear exactly identical in 777?
So they're important. So you can either say, well, did he put them from 777 into here because he saw it as important, because he knew that this would be the one book that outsiders would read. They're not going to read 777. And as we found out, most tarot readers haven't read 777 either. It's complicated. So then the next table is the Triplicities of the Zodiac. Yeah. And on the face of it, we've got quite a simple system here, haven't we? Because we have 4 sections: fire, water, air, and earth. And within each section, there are 3 more lines: fire of fire, air of fire, water of fire, fire of water, air of water, water of water, and so on. So, and the qualities are given here for the fire of fire is lightning, the swift violence of onset. The sun, air of fire is the sun, steady force of energy, and water of fire is the rainbow. And these are clearly referring to the signs of the zodiac, and that's a triplicity of fire of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And of course, the earth one is going to be, he has it in Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo, you see. So then at the end, he has this extra paragraph, which then does make it clear that he is talking about the court cards, because he talks about, so also the princesses in the tarot are the thrones of spirit. So in the first video, in the first table, Malkuth is not represented. In the second table, in the Triplicities of the Zodiac, Malkuth is also not there, or that Earth position is not there as well, except he references it by the princesses.
He's actually explaining all the zodiac signs, the elemental attributions of the zodiac signs, Maury.
Yes. But they're not really the court cards, because the court cards, of course, overlap, don't they, by 10 degrees?
Yes, yes.
But he's actually making clear this is a reference to them, because he talks about the princesses at the end,
and
which is in Malkuth.
And since he's actually talking about, so the fire of an element is the cardinal, air of an element is the fixed, water of an element is the mutable. So he's actually also mentioning the minor arcana here.
Yes. And that is also, the cardinal, fixed and mutable also refers back to the alchemical sulfur, salt, and earth.
Mercury.
You see? So it's the same system of threes, divisions of threes within threes, is in the triple trinity of the planets without Malkuth. He's doing the same thing with the triplicities of the zodiac, also without Malkuth, which is where the princesses are. And of course, we know that Malkuth is in Keter after another way. So this is another. This is kind of a teaching about not referencing something to tell you that it's there. You see? Sometimes when Crowley says, ignore this bit, he means precisely the opposite.
Exactly.
But he's making the point that it is there, because you wouldn't know it otherwise.
Oh, I'm just realizing the beginning of the Book of Lies is also all about triplicities, eh?
Yeah.
About triads.
Triads, yes.
It is. It's first he starts with.
Exactly. And he makes the point, this is exactly that thing. I think it's chapter 0, isn't it? He lists the triads in terms of the groups of 10.
Yes.
And it's the N, Ensof, and Ensof. This is almost like an elaboration.
Yeah, it's the same. It's like they belong
because
together,
it's 0, and because that's the nothingness. You see. So in the entire system, he's encapsulating here. So on the first one, the triple trinity of the planets, it is really about the numbers 1 to 9, plus 10 that you don't know about, because 10 is 1 plus 9 anyway. And then he's doing the court cards basically with the triplicities, although something different.
Because we mentioned it earlier, because this is also, I think, one of the reasons why he used 3 different words for the same concept here is to emphasize that they are similar but not totally the same, actually.
They're different aspects. It's always the Trinity. And it's the father, the mother goes to the son, and the daughter comes from another system, because otherwise the son marries the daughter, and that would be incest. So this energy always come through. We talked about that in the workshops last summer, didn't we? On and on and on about the supernal triangle.
About the
couldn't get out of the supernal triangle. We were stuck there for weeks on weeks. Other people can't get to it, and we couldn't get out.
We're still there now, we're
still there now, yes.
We're still there now.
So now, the third and last page of the Book of Thoth, it's the last page, look, see, is the Vital Triads.
The Vital Triads, yes.
Right, the Vital Triads. As if they weren't important, they're more important, the Vital Triads, than the other triads that we've done.
But it's a bit normal. You would know, Ali, you would expect Crowley to put something important on the last page.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, it's a bit like, you know, these cop shows, you know, the detective, they walk out and they go, oh, by the way.
Or it's something like only for the attentive students. Those who quickly read the book will probably just glance at the page and skip it.
Yeah. And this is your reward. It's the final question, you know, the final bit of the video. If you stick to the end, you get the extra bit.
You get the juicy bit.
Yeah. We have a problem with the Vital Triads because they're hard to understand. Yeah, so we're not going to get caught up in what the Vital Triads mean because we'll be here all bloody day.
There is no explanation either, so there is none. There's only opinion, eh?
Yeah. And you know, and it's not a simple thing that he's doing. But on the Vital Triads, he's creating, because basically you can't 22 doesn't divide into 3. Okay, 21 does. So he has 7 triads there, 7 vital triads. And then at the end, he has the last one, which is the pentacle of the whole, and it's 21 the system. And that's the universe card. So the final one is not a triad at all. It's a single one. But that's the only place where Malkuth, all the princesses and everything, because the universe card joins Yesod to Malkuth. So that completes the system.
Completely. I keep seeing the Ouroborous.
Yeah, it just joins up, or the 2 of discs change.
Yeah, but you come back in the same point in the end. Eh? It's like he makes your thoughts go in a circle.
Yeah,
like
because Malkuth is in Keter after another way anyway.
Yes, and like all the chats we had about the rose cross and the hexagram, and so here he says the system, so cards 21, the universe, is actually a representation of the hexagram.
Yes, it's the entire system.
Which the circle is round.
So, in essence, we are still in those 3 negative veils. We haven't even got on the tree of life because he hasn't said it's the tree of life. This is like a pre-system.
Is there a tree of life?
Well, that's another very good question. The problem is the map is not the territory, but he uses the map in certain ways that aren't, there's ways we think, but he's just blown all of this out of the water anyway, hasn't he? Sure. So this is in the same way that the sword and the serpent is 2 basic blocks within the 32 piles. The first 10 is the numbers 10, and the 20, and then the 22 goes from 11 to 32. You can go any way you like because that serpent joins up. And it's the union of the 10 with the 22 that bring this whole thing together. And within that, you can break it down into groups of 3. And he's demonstrated 3 different modes. He didn't have to. I mean, why the hell would you put the triple trinity of the planets in there anyway? It can't just be just to demonstrate that Uranus and Neptune are part of the system, is it? Because that's bloody hard work.
Yes.
He's doing something else there. He's bringing alchemy, the psychology of the self and how it relates to the universe, and the modes of consciousness that go on in there as well. And that's clearly, that also relates to the Naples arrangement, doesn't it, as well?
Yes, it does.
You'd bring all of that in with it too. So there's another part, the Naples arrangement, which we could have added into this, just to make things a little bit more complicated. Bart, what do you think?
I think if it is in 777, it is connected to the Naples arrangement.
Yeah, it is.
777.
Actually, in Israel Regardie's version, there's 777 revised. That is, the Naples arrangement is in there. And it's not in other versions.
Oh, yeah.
There we are, so yeah, the Naples arrangement.
And in in 777, the Naples Arrangement is just before the Triads and the Trinities and the Triplicities. They're together. They're on the next
in there
page.
as well, you see. So these are aspects that are presented. Whenever Crowley presents but doesn't explain, you know he's doing something important. What it is, what you do about it, that's another story. Do we have time for a tarot reading today, Bart?
Oh, what time is it? Well, yeah, of course we do, Paul. And then we're going to the terrace. We're going to have an Irish coffee, enjoy the sun.
Huh? There we are, you see.
Just kidding. I got my cards ready. Do you have a question?
I have a question sent in by someone anonymous. Well, I'm keeping them anonymous anyway. And this is an interesting question, but you don't know about this, do you?
No idea.
Yes, no idea. So here's the question. I'm seeing different advice on getting a COVID vaccination. My parents say yes, but my boyfriend is an anti-vaxxer. What does the tarot advise?
I'm going to my office. If you care to follow me.
I need to say a couple of points here, okay? First of all, don't use the tarot for medical advice, okay? Never use the tarot for medical advice. You know, if someone's got a problem, see a doctor. I saw a woman yesterday, she's asking about leaving her husband for a boyfriend. I said, see a lawyer first, find out your rights for getting a divorce, okay? You don't want to do anything stupid. The same applies to things like this. Now, I have an interest in this because actually I'm getting my second vaccination today. So yes, get the vaccine. That would be you wouldn't need a tarot reading to know this. Yeah, of course, if you're eligible, get a vaccine. You know, it's only a little prick, didn't hurt.
Or what's your language? So should you get a vaccine?
9 of discs, again. 3 of discs.
Work.
Right, okay. 3 of discs, 9 of discs. What the hell is that to do with health?
Vaccine? I don't know. What do we have here? Oh, bloody hell. Explain this one.
Just show them, don't explain. Wow. The 3 of Swords, that relates to ill health. And we have the Chariot, and we have the Emperor card.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's go back to 3 of discs and the 9 of discs. If you don't get vaccinated and you get sick, you can't work.
And if you don't work?
You don't get any money. Yeah. And also, the 9 of discs is the 3 discs, and then the 9 of discs relates to Virgo, which is the body, actually, looking after the body. Now, if you don't look after your health, you know, it's hard to work and earn money. And so then we have the Chariot, the 3 of Swords, and the Emperor. Yeah, right. Well, the Chariot. It's all about travel. And what can we not do at the moment? Travel. This is my excuse for not seeing you, Bart. COVID, you know.
Oh, we'll catch up later. No worries.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I still think COVID. I'm scared. So, you know, the thing is, unless you get vaccinated, you're not going to be able to travel. And your parents say yes. Well, the Emperor would be your parents, or at least one of them, wouldn't it? So the answer is, as if we didn't know, yes, get the vaccine. And that's the, you know, the Chariot is control and authority, and the Emperor is control and authority as well.
Yes.
So yes,
This is what I saw.
it's not often I say this, but in this case, do what your government says and get the vaccine and get vaccinated and get on with your life.
I think pretty soon, if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to be. They're going to make these
Compulsory.
these passports.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get your vaccination, you won't be allowed to do anything.
Absolutely. So get it done anyway. You know, it's free, and you know, the sooner you get it done, then it's just one less worry. They work pretty good.
It's handy.
So,
government can track you down wherever you are at any moment. So if you get lost or something, they'll find you straight away.
Yeah. Yeah. So there we are. That worked out well, didn't it? It's amazing how the tarot works on these things.
But to be really honest, I'm not that fond of questions like this because there's a little political thing to it.
Yeah, yeah.
The vaccine has become a political topic nowadays.
It always was, and it always will be. I mean, as a tarot reader, I say to people, I don't represent the government. You do what you want with your life.
Oh.
But on this one, it's a public health thing. Is get the injection. Yeah, it's a bit of a no-brainer, really.
Yeah.
So there we are. We've covered an entire system within the Book of Thoth that you never knew existed, and nor did we really until we actually researched this. It all comes from Bart saying, let's talk about the sword and the serpent. I bought this book. And where did we end up with? A vast system within the Book of Thoth that Crowley presents and never discusses. Of course, you can have your own interpretations on these three tables. You know, our job in this one isn't to say what they all mean. It's just to say, look, here it is. They're related to each other because they go next to each other, and they're at the end. And the end is in the beginning.
And if somebody says they completely understand the Vital Triads,
liars. Liars.
Yeah.
Don't trust them. We'll do a video on, we'll have to do about 10 videos on these things at some point. But for the moment, that's pretty much all. And we'll have another video next week, I hope.
So do I.
See you.